Hello, welcome to my space. Thank you for coming and listening. Dimensions. Humans are multi-dimensional beings. What does that mean? For me, it is the reason why I am able to speak with different beings from different dimensions, to see different realms, to interact, to walk between the worlds. We're not stuck in one limited program. All humans have that ability. Multidimensional, multifaceted. Within our soul center, a divine center, we hold all knowledge of all of our aspects. Everything we ever have been, everything we are, and everything we're going to be, speaking from a linear perspective, all contained within our soul center. And we have access to this information, this knowledge. Every aspect or every life that we have ever had, I speak in linear terms because that's how most people think. Is contained within this center in our hub. We can access that at any time and draw wisdom because we have been everything. Humans are so much more than they realize. When we start to recognize who we truly are and begin to express ourselves in a more full way, everything will change. We are multidimensional. We aren't restricted to the confines of this realm. When we begin to access our soul, sit with our soul, and allow our divinity to expand our understanding, we become vast, infinite. Intellectual concepts have no way of understanding what that means. It comes from experiencing your inner world. The Creator tells you everything through your divine access. There's such a a deep well of wisdom that is waiting for you. We can see who we've been, who we are in multiple places. And we can understand life in other places through this access. We don't have to channel somebody or listen to somebody else's story and believe it, because we have access to it. The dimensions are not hierarchical. There's so much talk about third, up to the 5th, up to the 10th, up to the 12th. Up, down, all of these stories. Everything's keeping it linear. Everything's keeping it stepping stones. But we, as multidimensional beings, are all of it, all of the time. It's a bit like the Russian doll. All of the dimensions are all here. We're in the center. And what we see and what we feel is purely what we allow our lenses to see from our particular perspective. But it's all there, all the time. And it's there for everybody. When we let go of belief systems, when we allow the lenses to fall off, and we focus on our divinity, we see we hear. It makes life, living in this dimension, so much easier. I'll give an example of how life is easier when we live with access to divinity, access to other beings, the spirit realm. This is a story about the wind. When I was young, I used to spend my summers at a lake camping with my family and a group of friends, probably about 10 families, many children, 50 or so. And we would spend all of our summer swimming and sailing and canoeing and playing and going on adventures around the lake and having a wonderful time playing games, playing cards at night time. And there was many children to play with, but I would often go off on my own because I enjoyed my other friends and I found more fulfillment with them. So I would often go off and spend time on my own. At night time, every night, all the children would congregate in one of the tents and all of the adults in another, and there would be many games of cards and laughter and fun and so forth. It was wonderful. But I would often go out into the night and see the nightlife, the animals and the birds, and sit and watch the stars and listen. And I would go and sit at the water's edge, and one night when I went down there, I was probably about 8 or 9 I'd say, and I found my father down there, and it turns out he would often go down and sit by the water and look out at the stars to have time on his own. So it became a bit of a special time for me. I would go and sit with my father, and he taught me the galaxies, the stars, to look for certain stars at different times. And it was a beautiful interaction that I value. My father was a very fine man. I was one of 6 children, and he was a community man, and he spent a lot of his time helping the community, and so it was a rare occasion for me to get one-on-one with him. While I was down there with him by the water's edge looking out at the stars, he taught me about the wind. And he said if you listen carefully, it will tell you things. So from that time on, I would always listen to the wind And through the years, it has brought me many messages, helpful messages. In June last year, I went for an afternoon evening walk, to see the sunset, which I do on a frequent basis. And I had a lovely time with the sun, and was walking back. It had been a beautiful blue sky day, still, no breeze, just a gorgeous day. And I was walking by a couple of trees. There's a pine and a palm that live embracing each other. And I always stop and speak to them as I'm passing. And I was just stopping with them when a huge gust of wind came directly from the south. I live in Queensland, and my family and where I grew up is Victoria, which is a long way south. It took me by surprise, so I looked to where it had come from. And then another gust of wind whipped through the camp laurel trees above me. Howling wind. I said, goodness me. It was, my hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I turned to look at and see what it was about. And I heard my father's voice. And he said, "It's time for me to leave." And as I heard those words, I felt warm energy flowing down my entire body. And it was like a calming nectar. My entire body just went into this beautiful, warm, fluid, calm space. I turned and I walked home, which took another 10-15 minutes, in which time I was having memories of my father and I, times together. It was so beautiful. And when I got home, I picked up my phone, and there were 2 missed calls. One from the nursing home where my father lived, and one from my brother, who is the second medical power of attorney. I'm the first. And I knew my father was 93 years old, and he passed away 4 weeks after that. I was able to go down and get him out of the nursing home, and because of my 30 years of nursing, it wasn't a difficult thing for me. But I was able to nurse him at my sister's house and give him a beautiful space for him to have his last weeks where he could enjoy family and friends and say goodbye beautifully. The reason I was so able to do this and so calm was because the wind prepared me. There's no way to describe the relationship that we can have with the nature realm. Experience is the only way. All of the dimensions are all around us all the time. And we have access to them. All for now. Bye.